Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Unstuck movement. I am your host, Rob Z. This platform is all about finding breakthrough in your life through true testimonies of breakthrough. Today, the incredible Bethany Stone is with us on the platform. And today, we're going to be talking about some incredible things, powerful things like emotional intelligence, the growth mindset, how to build resilience into your life, manage stress, and overcoming adversity. And Bethany, I like to jump in right off the bat. Before we even talk about who you are and what you do, I want to get into a powerful question to frame this episode. We're talking about perspective today. And, oftentimes in our life, perspective can be really hard to shift when we've thought about something the same way forever. We've seen somebody in the same light forever. It can be hard to look at something from a different set of eyes and get a new, fresh perspective. What is one of the first steps that you take when perspective seems impossible to shift?
I feel like when you're caught in perspective, stuckness, you just get stuck and you don't know why you can't progress. The best thing you have to do is just step back. You cannot see anything when you're in the fog. You can't. And sometimes we won't see anything until years later and we look back. And sometimes we don't know why we're keep doing what we're doing until we look back and see the progress that we've made. Perspective is such an interesting thing because it's all about movement.
Yeah, so true. Perspective. I'm just going to go personally. Like, I find certain things in my life that recur on a daily basis of like, man, I know I need to look at this differently. But right now it's really hard for me to look at it differently because I'm in it every single day, right? So that movement can be difficult in the moment. What do you do? Give me a great example from your own personal life of what that movement looked like when you made the movement. What kind of shift happened? Do you have anything that would help to illustrate that?
I have a couple of experiences that have really impacted and changed my perspective. When I was 3 years old, I am a little kid and I am determined and I am not the easiest child. And my mom can attest to this. I am not easy. But when I was 3, I had a Tootsie Pop sucker. And I was really excited about this. And I, for some reason, got it taken away. So being the child that I was, I decided that I was going to problem solve this. And I decided that I was going to go up into my room and take all the silver coins those are the ones that buy the Tootsie Pops. I knew that. I took all the silver coins and I got on my little tricycle. And I was like, I'm going to fix this. So I got on my tricycle and I rode my little tricycle on a highway, on the side of a highway, okay? But the town has 1,000 people in it, but still this highway went through the town. And I was on the side, and because I knew enough to stay on the side, because my mom would always be like, stay on the other side of the white line, So I was riding my tricycle, little red tricycle, all the way to the little gas station, went in, got my Tootsie Pop, buy my Tootsie Pop with my silver coins, and behind me, this person goes, "Where's your mom?" And I was just happy because I had my red Tootsie Pop. And he takes me and he puts my tricycle in the back of the truck and brings me home. Knocks on the door. My mom was not very happy to see me. She was not very happy about any of this. And I didn't get to keep that Tootsie Pop either, actually, which was really sad. Okay, now perspective-wise, in my 3-year-old mind, I thought that I had just solved the biggest problem in the world. I had just solved this. I had made it happen. And I couldn't even understand why my mom was mad. I fixed this. This was an issue and I fixed it. Now, as I'm an adult and I would look back on this, I cannot believe I did that. I would have responded the exact same way my mom did and been like, what in the world are you thinking? Do you know how dangerous that is? Do you know, you could have been run over taken by a stranger. You could have like all the things. But a lot of the times our perspective is so much based on our ignorance as well. I didn't know. I was thinking that I was solving something. I was thinking I was fixing things. And I didn't have the knowledge that I do now to really change my perspective and look at it and be like, wow, I really could have been hurting myself. Things could have really been bad. I didn't have that perspective. And so it's really how you look at things.
Yeah, I think about the boldness of that 3-year-old. You were so bold, because sometimes the ignorance, the lack of perspective creates that boldness of just like to go for things. You just like went for it because you went after the thing that you wanted, and there's a lot of power there too. So I want to talk more about that. First, let's back up. I just want to reintroduce everybody to the platform, the Unstuck movement. I created this platform because I've been stuck. Bethany, I know you've been stuck at different places in your life. We all have. And I love to find breakthrough. I love to find those key ingredients, those core elements that help us to find breakthrough in our lives, personally and professionally. We're sponsored by the Connected Leaders Academy, which I know we are both a part of. The CLA is over 500 heart-centered entrepreneurs from all over the world, helping each other, serve each other, and grow. And also by the Pro Podcaster Academy. If you're somebody who wants to launch a podcast, wants to make it a reality, but you're not sure about all the nuts and bolts to how to make it a reality, how to make that actually happen, I love to walk people through that process, to have a platform that creates incredible impact in people's lives, that makes you the go-to authority in your space, and also creates incredible personal and professional relationships for yourself. If you have a podcast, how do you streamline it, make it easier to execute, and also monetize it where you can make money off of it? I'd love to help you with that at robzwentz.com. You can sign up for the wait list for the Pro Podcaster Academy. Today with us, Bethany Stone, a master mindset and life skills coach who helps people turn overwhelm into empowerment. With over 22 years of experience, she equips clients to build resilience, shift perspective, and thrive in both personal and professional life. So this Tootsie Pop story, obviously a formative memory that defined your problem solving. You know, as I was doing some research about you for this episode, I found, a story where you had started to lose yourself in marriage, and you started to lose maybe kind of your identity. And I'm curious, what was like the internal conversation like when you had to rediscover and reclaim that core part of your identity, that part, that Tootsie Pop girl who went out and did that, right? How did you reconcile all of that later on in life?
Well, it's interesting because when you're, excuse me, when you're having emotional trauma, whether or physical trauma, you have, I feel like this is how I look at it anyways. I feel like within you, you have these amazing seeds of like potential and just growth. And when something or a situation happens, and really it's your, your potential, the way you look at things, your perspective, all of these things, depending on what happens in your environment, those things can get damaged and they can get poisoned and they can get destroyed. And when that happens, you have to start at square one and grow again. And growing is uncomfortable. And growing takes a lot of effort. So I was married for my first marriage, 10 years. And it was, he is a good man, but he has mental illness. And at that time, he had a lot of addictions and a lot of demons that he could not handle himself. And when he drank, he was abusive. That was the way it was. And I ended up getting battered wife syndrome from staying for 10 years and looking for the little glimmers of hope. Because when you're in a situation like that, you try to keep a positive perspective because you can see this one good thing out of all the yuck. Oh, there's the one good thing and the yuck. And really what that does is damages you in a whole other level because you're trying to create something that really isn't there. And I left that marriage having battered wife syndrome and really not okay. And I quickly rebounded into even a more abusive marriage,
Mm.
where this one was very much so emotionally abusive and very much so finished just stomping out my love for life, my love for everything. So I really did have to start at just square one. I mean, I didn't even want to be around anymore. You just come to the point where you're like, why am I here? And you're stuck in such a vicious cycle of negative thought that you are so stuck that you can't even see any more light. All the glimmers of hope are gone. And when I was there, that's when I actually discovered, well, really the key to everything and everything that I am today. And I was actually able to rediscover that lollipop loving girl. I was really able to rediscover myself. And it was when my darkest moment, when I was laying in bed and I'm thinking about pills I could take to make everything go away and all the stuff, and I'm an educator. I'm a teacher. And knowing a lot about birds and zoology because I'm a Montessori educator. And we teach very, very in detail these things. And looking outside my window, I saw a hummingbird couple and they were making a nest. And right outside my window, when I was feeling all these things, and I watched them, and I had one thought come to my mind. Wow, what a cool experience that I can sit here and watch this. This is a really rare thing. I know that hummingbirds make their nests out of the softest materials they can find in nature. I know that it is really rare because they camouflage their nests better than any other bird that in this area. And I'm like, what a cool thing. I am so glad I'm able to see this. Whoa. One thought of gratitude shifted my thought process. And it started growing that little tiny seed. And it just watered it a tiny bit. But all of a sudden, I was so grateful. And there was no way I wanted to take pills because guess what? There is a hummingbird making a nest outside my window. And I know what a gift that is from God. And like, holy cow. And he knew I needed to see it right then. And it just sparked that shift. And all of a sudden, I was able to look outside of myself and see gratitude. And as soon as I was able to see gratitude, I was like, wow, I can't believe I'm so socked into this vicious cycle of yuck. And now that I have that one thought of gratitude, it kind of, if you start nurturing that, it kind of grows. And I started to learn, wow, I really need to start taking care of myself. Wow, I really need to. And I was able to rediscover myself. I was able to stand up for myself. I was able to, restart my life. I was able to be the single mom and work 5 jobs and provide for my kids and be vulnerable enough to jump into yet another relationship, which has been the biggest blessing of my life, which you wouldn't think, because I was pretty sure all men were inherently evil at that point, and open myself up to be vulnerable again. And I would have never been able to heal. I would have never been able to open up, been never able to see love, gratitude, or anything if it hadn't been for that one little drop of water that just what happened to be on my poisoned seeds in my life of gratitude, of looking out that window and seeing that bird and just watching that happen. I actually have that hummingbird nest. When I moved from that house, I took it out of the tree and I keep it because it's a reminder to me about, well, perspective and where we're at and why we need to care for ourselves and the importance of that and how we can get so sucked into yuck and not see our way out because the fog is too thick.
Yeah, so true, right? It's kind of maybe not built into all of us, built into a lot of us to look there for all the things we don't have instead of looking at the things we do have. Because we're always, surviving. It's like that survival, like I need this thing, I need that thing, or comparison. You see the things that you want and ignore the things that you already have and possess, and that's wonderful. I love that so much because throughout the day, throughout all the different parts of a day, all the different thoughts that we have, man, you can lose perspective so quickly. That's really, really powerful. I want to go back to that in a second, but I want to touch on something you mentioned a few minutes ago about change. And you mentioned about your ex-husband, and thinking that, you saw that one little glimmer of hope, and thinking that hanging on to that one thing, and just imagining that you were going to be able to change a situation because you saw something good. And I think that's a really important point, not just for relationships, but for anything in our life. Just because we see one little seed of something that's a possibility, we can only really control ourselves, and we can barely control ourselves. At least for me, I don't know about you, but I can barely control myself, let alone somebody else. So recognizing, like, okay, that that's great that you can see the good in something that might have a lot of bad in it, but that doesn't mean to hang on to that one thing and to
Yes.
let it drag you down. So how do you find the balance in those things, right? Because I can see the good here, but I also see the bad. How do you know when to let go? So that's probably a lesson that you've learned over the years. How do you know when to let go of something that obviously isn't working anymore?
Well, it's been a lot of lessons. I've lived a lot of life lessons. And I can tell you that when I was in it, and I was really, really in it, in it so far, 4 affairs in with him, like in it. Like it has been pretty much everything you could think of that is not supposed to be happening in a good marriage, pretty much happened. And it was very much so me understanding that, you have, if you cannot see the actions, the words are dead.
Mm-hmm.
And understanding that, because so many people are so good with words and will say exactly what you want to hear. And when you stand back and try to look outside of this fog, you'll realize that words without the action are dead. And if you're not seeing that action piece and you're holding on to only words, that's when you know, because they have to work together. And if they are not, then you're not in a good situation. There's another piece of this story, though, if we want to talk about this story. So my ex-husband, he is a good man, and he always has been a good man, just too many demons. And I mentioned that. Well, we've been divorced for longer than we were married. And because I did not hold resentment, because I forgave, because all these things happened in life, and I am not somebody that holds on to anger. I don't feel like I don't want to hold on to things. And that's why I can talk about it. People are like, oh, how can you even talk about those things? Well, it's because I don't hold on to them. Mm-hmm. Because my perspective is in a way that these are things that it was terrible. I've been through a lot of terrible things, but every single one of these things grew me, even though I thought that they were destroying everything inside of me. What they were doing was fertilizing a ground. They were fertilizing a ground so that something else could grow, even though everything else was dead at the time. But that ground has to have nutrients in it. And sometimes that nutrients is manure, have to say. It just is. And you just have to go through that crap.
You have to go. You got to go through the crap, and you got to use the crap as fertilizer to grow the new thing. That's really, really good. That's really true.
It's true though. Like you think back on things, and today, for almost an entire year now, actually, there was a point I thought he was dead. Like, didn't contact me, kids, nothing. I really thought he was dead, homeless on the street, whatever. He comes back in January of last year and is like, I want to fix my life. I want to give my life back to God. And I realized everything that I'm missing. And I want to thank you. He's thanked me multiple times for being an example to him and being strong and standing my ground. We're friends today. My boys are actually see him, which they didn't have really a relationship with him before. And he is giving his life to God now. And he's going to church continually. And he is striving to be the man that he wished that he could be. He's getting help for bipolar, and like he had bipolar, like all these mental illness, and he's getting help. He's seeking and doing the things that he needs to do. And it is amazing to see the 180. So there's two things here that you have to understand. Even though things are so, so terrible in perspective and everything else, right? If you hold on to anger and you hold on to things, it wouldn't have given him the opportunity to come to me and ask me to be a support person. My husband and him are friends. He sits on the pew on the other side of us at church every Sunday.
Wow.
And yeah, and he bought a house a mile away from us. And he comes over for Sunday dinner. And he doesn't really have a big family to lean on, and I do. And he's now using me as a crutch. And I'm grateful to be able to have such a strong support system around me and have kept that just not anger and not festered in anger, that he felt like he could come to me and my husband and my kids, and like now most of them are adults and things like that, but he can now talk to them and he can now fix his life, because it's never too late if you're alive.
Bethany, that's amazing. What a story of hope that is. That's really powerful. Just like a couple of things that stand out, like you said, forgiveness, not holding on to that anger is so important, because man, I'm a divorced, remarried, and like you said, I don't want to hold on to the anger, but it comes back, right? It'll like resurface, and then it'll go away, and then it'll be like, oh, things are good, and then something will happen. It's like, oh, there it is. It's still there. It didn't go anywhere. But then you're like, oh, maybe it's gone now. Oh, wait, here's another situation where it came back again. So it's like this ebb and flow of like processing through it, but being intentional. And this is where I would say most of society really struggles, is letting go of the anger and like moving past it. And I don't know what your perspective is on this, but I really feel like seeing people, especially people who have hurt you multiple times, and I'm sure in your relationship there's things that you did wrong too. Not saying it sounds like his was he was way more on the one end than you on the other end. But I know in my situation, there was things on both sides we both did wrong. Like if I had to make a list, the list would compile on both sides. But it's like, man, it doesn't really matter. I just need to like let this stuff go and see her as a good, like you said, your ex-husband was a good man. He was a good man who had some problems, and now he's coming back around to work through them. If you weren't there and you weren't available when he showed back up and you hadn't let go of the anger, he wouldn't have been able to heal, right? He would have continued to spiral because you hadn't let go of that. How do you let go of that sort of stuff? For somebody who maybe has gone through something like that and they're still stuck in this place of like, well, screw them. They did this to me. They did this to me. They did this to me. Some people really, it seems like they can't let it go. How do you let it go?
I don't tally. I don't keep tallies. Like, I know that some people like what you said, we keep lists and we keep a running tally of the things that happened. Like this and this and this and this and this. And I feel like I've come to a point where I only have so much energy to give. And I don't want to give energy to something that is not going to build me and something that is not going to build others and is just going to bring me down. I don't want to give energy to that. And when I can take a deep breath, and I truly believe in cleansing breaths. Sometimes I will you feel the tension in your heart. You feel all your emotion just building up and just like, I am not okay. And I still have anxiety. Mm-hmm. For 6 months, I married my husband. Like, he thought I'd run away. And I thought I might run away too, because it was so scary. It's the scariest thing I ever did was jump into this marriage that I'm in now, is because I have baggage. We all have baggage. And there'd be times where I would like cry in the shower and my husband would jump in with all of his clothes on and just be like, are you okay? And hold me. And I'd just be like, I'm not okay. because we come to this point where we really have a lot of emotions, and we have to decide. We have to decide what emotions are going to be benefiting me and what emotions are going to be spiraling me. Mm-hmm. What emotions do I not want to hold into? And when you take that cleansing breath and you think about those emotions, and I wrap them up in my mind, I put all of them in a little box, and I'm like, you know what? These are things I don't love. And I put them in a box, and I imagine myself just breathing them out. And then holding my breath. And then like, I need to do that again. And I do that. And I'm like, all right, I got this. I'm okay. I can move on, and I'm okay. But we hold on to so many things. So something that we haven't even mentioned, but something that really has changed my perspective over the last 3.5 years has been my son. The son that this man and I had together. So we had 3 boys together, and he actually got mitochondrial dysfunction disorder about 3.5 years ago. And he's one of 2 people that have this specific variant, and it affects his
2 in the world?
In the US.
Oh, wow.
It affects his electric transport chain number 3 in his legs. So he went from running cross country and run to having a fever and not being able to walk. And it took us 2.5 years to diagnose it. Well, 2. And it took a long time. And because every test will come back normal until you do genetic tests and they find a variant within your DNA and all this stuff. It's a crazy thing. And there'd be times where he would have to sleep, and he would sleep. Then he'd wake up and he'd have energy and could walk. And then as the day would go on, he'd go from walking to losing his energy to using a cane to having tremors to not being able to walk. And we would carry him to bed. And there'd be times where I'd have these conversations with him. Oh, I might cry. And he has taught me more than anything else about perspective. Because he would ask me, Mom, if you only had 3 hours of energy a day, what would you do? If you only had 3 hours a day, what would you do? And I said, I don't know. I've never thought about that. And he goes, I've thought about it a lot, and I know what I want to do. Every day I have energy. He goes, I want to make sure I'm spending time with God, and I'm spending time with my family, because those are the most important things. And I'm like, that is true. That is true, buddy. And then he got more energy, and he's like, I want to make sure I'm calling my friends. He is the biggest example of perspective to me, because he could see things. And he even told me, he goes, you know, some people keep talking about a glass half full and a glass half empty. He goes, I'm just really glad to have a glass. And I'm like, yeah, me too, buddy. And he goes, you know, sometimes I think we just aren't grateful for the little things. I'm like, you're right. We're not. And seeing him go through this at a very crucial age of teenage years. He's now 18. And that was like a crucial chunk of your independence growth and not hanging out with mom. And he was stuck hanging out with mom. And I learned more from him than anything, any of the perspective things I went through.
Yeah. Oh, that's beautiful. Wow.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that. Oh man, God bless him. That's what a great example of perspective. So we have to pause real quick just to shout out the sponsor of the show. When we come back though, I want to go back to the hummingbird. I want to talk about these aha moments, because I find aha moments so fascinating, and they're so important. And how do we help other people find those aha moments? Like, what does that look like to help somebody reach that click, that turning point? I want to dive into that in 1 minute when we come back.
Are you struggling to make consistent, valuable content for yourself? Do you want to have an efficient and effective way to create content that attracts the people that you want to connect with in life, the people you want to build relationships with in business? Do you want to be the go-to authority at what you do, at what you're great at? Would it be helpful for you if you had a platform that connects you to incredible people in your industry? The kind of platform that gets you leads and lands you clients without you having to beat down anybody's door or blow up anybody's inbox. Whether you're already creating content or you're desiring to start and it's something that's been kind of burning inside of you for a while, I urge you and encourage you to check out the Pro Podcaster Academy. Get started right now. Join the waitlist at robzwentz.com. unstuck.com.
Hi, my name is Jose Escobar, and I'm the founder and CEO of the Connected Leaders Academy. We're a growing tribe, a community of entrepreneurs all over the world globally. If you're an entrepreneur and you're looking to grow personally and professionally, scale your influence, develop your skill sets, move the needle in your business, more clients, more money, more profit, the bottom line, and of course, grow your circle and your network like never before, join the Connected Leaders Academy today. Check me out on Instagram and on Facebook, the @ JAESCO25. We look forward to having you join us. Take care.
Welcome back to the show, Bethany. This is such a good conversation. I'm loving this so much. And that hummingbird story you told about, the aha moment, like it's so powerful. The self-discovery that we receive through those sorts of things, those moments that really just click for us. It might not click for somebody else, but it makes perfect sense for us. Is there a way to help facilitate those aha moments for other people? They're struggling with a certain thing, struggling in a certain area. It could be setting boundaries, could be conflict resolution. Without telling them what to do, is there a way to help them find those moments?
Yes, there is. And actually, this is when I actually started creating my coaching program. And I didn't even know it. I didn't even know I was doing it. But I'm not a life coach. And a lot of people are like, oh, you're a life coach. No, I'm not. I'm a life skills coach. And there's a huge difference in that. And I've discovered that. Because during that time, when I was in the darkest moment and saw that hummingbird, I discovered that I needed to start to take care of myself. And I started doing little things for me. Like one of them was make my bed every day. Another one was, take my vitamins. Another one was like drink water. That was all. That's all I did. But because I had decided I was going to start to do things for me, it changed. Because I was starting to put things inside of me. I stopped depleting myself so much. And actually, it's a weird thing because I teach self-care. And when you are starting to fill of yourself again, you can give more of yourself. And most of us want to keep giving and giving and giving till we don't have anything left. And that's what I did in every single situation that I was in. I gave and gave and gave and held on to every glimmer of hope. I gave and gave and gave, hoping something would change. I would give and give and give until I was so exhausted that every single time I would hold still, I would fall asleep. Giving and giving and giving and never doing anything for myself. And it wasn't even really big things. I mean, we're supposed to drink water. We're supposed to make our bed. We're supposed to do these things. But because I made an intentional shift of, I'm doing this for me because I know I feel better when my bed is made. I know that I'm supposed to take my vitamins because I don't want to get sick and I need to stay healthy. It's these little things that you don't even think about. And that is where you shift. You shift when you start to fill of yourself. Because guess what? Then you start to look outside of yourself. And then you start to look for other things. And because you are feeling a little bit fuller, you can then give to others. And when you give to others, you're serving. And when you serve, that's when you are seeing gratitude for the things that you have. And it's just this interesting formula that I have discovered. And so that's actually how I created my coaching program. And I do the same thing. I call it my 5 self-care buckets. That's my whole coaching program. That's all I do is 5 self-care buckets. And it's a little bit interesting because I've actually had now a couple people ask me, why do you call it buckets? Why don't you just call it the 5 pillars of self-care, the 5 blah, 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 all these things. And I've been an educator for a long time. And there is a song that drives me absolutely insane. I don't know if you've heard of this, but it's that there's a hole in your bucket song that you sing to children. There's a hole in your bucket, dear Lila. That one. Okay. That whole song, they never fix that hole. It is the most frustrating song. They're sticking mud in it. They're sticking like straw in it. They're sticking all this stuff. And at the end of the song, guess what? There's still a hole in the bucket. It is so frustrating. I listened to that song and I'm like, oh. And so, and I was like, you need to name your course. I'm like, oh, I know what I'm naming it, because I want to teach people how to fix that hole so that they can actually fill those buckets. Because guess what? You're not going to, you can put as much stuff as you want, but unless your buckets are fixed and that hole is fixed, you're not going to be able to fix anything else. So that's what I do now.
What fixed the hole in your bucket?
Gratitude and looking outside of myself and realizing that I needed to nurture myself in 5 different ways. So that's why there's five buckets. Because there you have like your emotional bucket, right? Your emotional self-care. And your emotional self-care has got to come before your spiritual self-care. Because if you cannot recognize your emotions, you are not going to be understanding what God is saying to you. You're going to get convoluted feelings. You're going to have your brain and your heart conflicted all the time. You have got to understand your emotions. So it's emotional, spiritual, and then you have your physical, then you have your social, and then you have your intellectual. And so I learned that I needed to make sure I was doing something for myself in every single one of these areas every single day. And I do still to this day. I now have like 22 things on a list that is like ongoing that I like try to make sure I do every single day. And I'm not kidding. I can get a lot of stuff done, but it's not because I'm like some crazy superpower person or anything. It's because I've learned to fill myself first so I can give to others. It's because I know how to manage my time. It's because I've learned all the life skills within self-care to be able to give. And it's through my life experiences and actually discovering it for myself that I was able to learn this.
When you see, you said you have 22 things on your list that you do every day or almost every day.
Yeah.
How do you treat yourself when you don't get, say you only get 11 of those things done? What happens to you?
I say, well, tomorrow's another day. And guess what? You always get to challenge your yesterday. Yesterday, you get to challenge that. And it's like that 1% better mentality, you know? Yesterday, I only got like 14 things done. Guess what? Today, I can do better. And you get to actually have a framework for how to be better because you know. And then once you master those, add another thing. And today was a really busy day and I didn't get out, but tomorrow, because it's not about perfection. And I think that this is the part that people forget so much. It is not about perfection, because perfection is just self-sabotage in disguise. That's all it is. We are not supposed to be perfect. It's only about consistency. It's about always moving forward, never being stagnant. Don't try to be perfect. Just try to be consistent.
So true. Consistency. I always use patience plus perseverance. You know, being patient, but always persevering. Always persevering, but being patient. Combining those two things together, you'll get to where you need to go. Now, the world of comparison can make it seem like other people are moving faster than you or whatever it might be. How do you battle comparison, especially in the world of coaching?
Well, I can have another story for this one. So I was a teacher and I had an assistant come in, and I was teaching a kindergarten class at the time. And I do not wear the nicest clothes to go teach school, especially kindergartners, because you come home with boogers on you. This is the reality of life. Boogers and paint are a normal thing, but my assistant would come to school and she always wore like high-end clothing, like really, really nice clothes. And one day she told me that I would look really frumpy and that I looked really homely and that I needed to up my style. This is my assistant. And I'm like, I'm going to put my hair in a ponytail every single day. And yeah, I'm not going to wear makeup all the time and all these things, because this is reality. Like and she would never get on the ground and play with the kids. She would never. And I had to step back out of it because I was started to compare, because I was like, you know what? She is always so pretty. And I mean, her hair is always on point. She always has like perfect makeup, like all the things. We start doing the girl thing, and girls are terrible at comparison because we can just instantly look, and within seconds we can judge and be like, and that. Oh, I wish I had that. Oh, I'm better than that. Like, we do this. Comparison is a deal.
Mm-hmm.
But I learned something. I took a step back, and I actually, like, for a good amount of time, I started like doing my hair and things like that. And guess what? I became afraid. I became afraid to get my shoes dirty. I became afraid to get grass stains on my pants. I became afraid. And guess what? I was not going to let those children suffer because of my ego.
Yeah.
And so I quickly went back to the way I was dressing. And I decided I didn't care if I dressed frumpy or homely or whatever she called. I didn't even care anymore because I had a bigger mission. And I think that that is the perspective you have to take. You know, in the world of coaches, you know, people are always afraid, oh, you're going to take my content. You're going to take my idea. You're going to take this. You're going to take this. But here's the one thing that they can never take. They can never take who you are.
Mm-hmm.
This is the difference. Nobody can ever steal you. So yes, in the world of competitive coaching and all this other stuff, it's you. They can't take away. They can copy everything you do, but they cannot take away you. And that is something I learned, is that I did not want to lose who I was and lose me just because somebody else was telling me something.
That's really good. Your identity is the only thing that's unique to you that nobody else can replicate. So it's something I, work on with myself, and I work on with people that I, whether it's personal or professional. It's, who are you? What is your identity? Because that is the uniqueness that you bring to every situation. That is what somebody, is drawn to you for, is that your identity is the thing that's going to keep you afloat, number one, right? If you lose your identity, then who are you? Why are you even doing what you're doing? You can lose so much in that. But when you know your identity, you know who you are, you know what your purpose is, nobody can steal that. And that's such an attractive thing, because people, they clamor for that. They're dying for identity, but they're trying to get identity from other people. They're trying to steal well, maybe not steal, but replicate other people's identity, because they think getting that is going to give them the fulfillment that they need, right? And like you said, God gives us all unique identities. We have to go to Him to find out who we are. And when we find out who we are, then we can be secure in ourselves. So I think that is such a powerful message, and one that we're continually learning and growing in throughout our life. Bethany, this has been amazing. So good. So many great stories here. So much powerful wisdom. I want to encourage people to check out what you do. thrivingbynature.com is the website. What would you like them to do when they go to the website?
If you're interested, currently on my website, I have a banner, which is really kind of fun because I'm currently booking for a European river cruise on a yacht. And there's limited spots. And this will be the first kind of retreat I'm doing, but I'm doing the 5 self-care course on that. And it's going to be really amazing. I'm really, really excited about it. And we're going to start in Nuremberg, Germany, which is where World War II began. And that's where humanity forgot itself. That's where we forgot to look outside and be grateful for what we have. And so I think that'll be powerful in itself. But we're starting in Nuremberg, Germany, and we're going to Budapest, and it's June 17th of next year. And so we're booking for that now. And then also on my website, I do life skill journals. I have an amazing graphic artist, and I give her the content, and she puts together the most beautiful journals. And there's a free journal to download, because I am not a gatekeeper. I will give you value. I don't care. And so download a journal, have a journal, start gaining some life skills. And if you like what you see, you can book a free call with me, and I would love to talk with you and see what we could do.
Incredible. I love that getaway sounds absolutely amazing. What a retreat. What a treat in a retreat. That sounds so cool. So thrivingbynature.com. The question I love to ask at the end, say you never connect with anybody, including me, ever again on here. Say whatever happens, we never talk again. What is a lasting message that you'd like to leave with the audience as we sign off?
You know, I think I just want to repeat a message that I said a little earlier about it's not about perfection, and that perfection is self-sabotage. And I think we need to remember that. If perfection is self-sabotage in disguise, it is about just progress, just continuing on. It's just about just consistency, moving forward, even if it's a little bit. And that's what anyone can progress through anything if they just move a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. That consistency is everything. Incredible. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your stories. This has been really powerful. Another true testimony of breakthrough here on the Unstuck movement. We'll see you next time.